Hi, hello, and welcome back. My name is Ajay Naik, and with me we have
Manasvi Priyadarshi.
and
Kripashankar Sharma.
so this is our special webinar where we are going to take any question which you have in any of our course which are on SAP UI5 and AngularJS. AngularJS, yeah, mean stack involves
stack, basically.
AngularJS,
Yeah.
Node.js, MongoDB, and ExpressJS.
ExpressJS.
And also on Python
Yes.
and IoT. So feel free to ask us any questions. And in the meantime, we will be answering some of the very common questions which have been asked in our courses in UI5CN.com. So let's go ahead. So first we will be, you can use the communicator section in YouTube stream and you can type your questions there. So if you type the questions, we will get those questions and we will try to answer those. We are live streaming this webinar here. So let's go ahead and we start with the UI5. We have 5 main questions which are asked in UI5 course in our website. So as you can see in our screen, the first question which is very commonly used is I have actually used in the course the Cloud 9 IDE and also Eclipse, and I'm going back and forth between these two things. So I think when I was using the Cloud 9 at that time, one common issues, like to be very frank, at the time they were not having the feature where you have to pay or give the credit card to take a free account.
To use that
Yeah.
Cloud ID.
Yeah. So certainly there was a change that they suddenly switched to like this feature they added in between that you have to give the credit card to
Yes.
have a free account. And most of the users, they are coming back that, okay, how can I make a free account? I have to actually give the credit card information and all, and I don't feel comfortable on that. So I think I have also shared a username and password for a free account within the course itself, which you can use, commonly everyone can use, and go through the code and like copy the code, download the code, and
That's
you will be, yeah. So basically I want to create a small repository of small snippets which you can use.
Okay.
A small snippet repository which you can use on your code. When I was working on applications, I want to have a small repository of all the how the list works, how the tile works, and when I want to use a tile, I will just copy that particular part of the tile code which worked previously.
Yes.
And then I start from there. I will not start from scratch. So these are kind of some of the techniques which a professional developer uses. They spend time on perfecting some of the individual parts, and they keep it for later point of view where they know that in the project the time will be very less, and then at that time they can quickly deliver it. So those snippets was
So
actually
that's a very good practice to follow too.
exactly. So I think therefore I use Cloud 9 IDE, and also this new web IDE was coming in the picture from SAP side. So but then it is a little difficult to get your hands on the web IDE at that time when I was making this course, which is about 8 months or 10 months back. I'm still updating the courses, so maybe in future versions I will be showing the web IDE as well. But I was pretty clear that when someone will be working on enterprise project, they will be actually working on Eclipse IDE. So
Okay.
this Eclipse IDE will be primarily used. So I also showed how to do the projects, complete projects in Eclipse IDE and push the code to SAP. So all those parts has been covered. So as a developer, if you want to just practice and learn about the front-end components and just for practice, then use the Cloud 9 IDE. It's much simpler that way. And if you want to just work on the project and want to really get involved in the complexity
True.
and shared environment where other team members are also practicing or working, then use the Eclipse. But Eclipse will be the primary way where you will be
For the
delivering the
production
project. Yeah.
code.
Yeah, actually, industry is also using like in any language they are using Eclipse only.
Yeah, I think in
So-
Python course also you have.
Yes, we also are using Eclipse. So I think, but they are switching to this web IDE, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So like now industry is using web IDE for SAP.
Yeah, for SAP, I think basically the web IDE is the Eclipse Orion version of the Eclipse. For example,
Okay.
Eclipse now version which we are using are standalone versions, which is you have to install in the desktop and then you can really use
Exactly.
it. But in web, the new version of Eclipse, which is Eclipse Orion, it's web based.
Right.
So people have identified that it's much difficult to set up the entire development environment
Right,
in
right.
a single machine. We need to get it in the cloud so everyone will have access to. They don't have to prepare their desktop
Yeah.
and then get started. You just kind of open it, and from any device,
Yes.
you can actually
So yeah, it's a
work.
good feature. I
For a
think.
cross-platform access.
So it can
that's
increase
very
the
good.
efficiency of programmer as well.
Yeah, so people can also check Eclipse Orion.
Yes.
It's much similar to WebID, and they can also feel the experience of Eclipse, all the features. Eclipse is kind of a legacy, not exactly legacy. They have improved also and changed with the changing market and needs. But it's something which is very classical. Like
Right.
it has a lot of feature. Eclipse itself, it's a stable ID. But the web is like currently what people are using. So
Yeah.
try with
Perfect.
Eclipse Orion, and it will be like a good experiment
Yes.
as well. And we'll also cover it in coming futures courses as well, Eclipse Orion. So going back to the second question which was asked in our course, just to give you all the people who have joined now, you can ask us questions. We are live here. Ask us any questions on SAP UI5, JavaScript, mean stack, Python, AngularJS, and IoT. We will be answering those questions. So coming back here, in SAP UI5, there was one question that shell is depreciated. So this was one question asked in the question itself. And I think to reply this question answer, you can use sap.m.shell, the M version of it in production environment. It's still can be used. The desktop version is something which was not really went into production, or I have seen people using it, but not on a level where it is actually involved in a very critical activity. So, for example, if I'm pushing some code on production and the customer is like, there are thousands of customers who are using those applications, I'm not seeing other shell version used there. I've only seen sap.m.shell used in the production where a number of people are using it.
Okay.
So
Mostly in UX perspective, what shell actually does is it gives you a frame.
Okay.
So it gives you a frame, and as a developer, you don't have to really rethink much of UX. So
Okay.
shell is to be used where you don't have to really think much about a UX. It gives you a
Okay.
frame, and then you just put the menus, you put the features
Okay.
of your application within the web UI itself.
Right.
So shell is mostly used there. It reduces the design phase, and it's a tried and tested UX
Okay.
or UI, I will say here. And you can use the sap.m version of the shell. It's still being used. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, so there's one question from Deepak Agarwal: how to use the performance measures facility provided now in SAP WebID? I think I don't know that because I've not tried this performance measure. I have tried the performance measure for SAP HANA system,
Okay.
but performance measure, I will check it and come back to you. I've not really tested the performance measure. When I was pushing the codes to Git, there were few performance measures, tools which were provided in the WebID, but our quality team was taking care of it. But I will ask and check with
Yes.
those quality guys and come back to you. And I will be replying to this question within the description of this video, maybe within 1 or 2 days. Yeah. So thank you, Deep, for asking this question. But I think at this point of time, I don't have this answer to this question. So I will get back to this question again. Yeah. So there was one more question which was asked in our course, which is this is a snippet, code snippet, which was they have given, and
Okay.
then I think you have to closely watch it. Someone is trying to use sap.ui.getCore byId.getValue. The ID has been mentioned here. So one thing which, if you go through the code, one thing which you will find is the ID is present here, and then the ID has been used here. So they are just using the ID here. The inputs ID is being
Yeah.
mentioned there, and you are using sap.ui.getCore byId to really get that particular object of that element, and then you are
Yes.
using the getValue function. In this case, if you see the ID, the D is capital, and it's a very
Yes.
common mistake which people do is it should be small actually. So I will just change it here. So D is small. So you can check if you can see. Yeah. So D should be small here. So ID, the D should be small because these are case sensitive things.
Yes.
And then now it will work because the D was capital.
So I guess in SAP UI5 everything is camel case. So while writing those functions, you should make sure that everything is camel cased.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I think everything should be camel cased, and even the function names or variable names should be camel cased. So it is mandatory to use UI5 for SAP application. So there's one more questions we have. Yeah. So I think we are having one more question here. Is it mandatory to use UI5 for SAP applications? I think that this question has been asked many times. I think it is not mandatory to use UI5 for your SAP application. I was working on a project where I was using React.js and hybrid solution, e-commerce solution in the backend, which is now SAP product. And people have been using AngularJS. In labs, I was using AngularJS in a lot of time. So you can use AngularJS. Node.js is going to be the future of SAP HANA.
Yes.
So
is
like,
going
we
to
are
be
moving to Node.js now.
Yeah.
Everyone is moving to Node.js.
Server-side scripting is moving
Yeah.
to JavaScript now.
JavaScript. So don't fight here, JavaScript and Python. So people are also switching to Python. Data intensive things are coming into
Moving to
Python.
the Python, right.
And UI intensive and service intensive things are coming into
Service-intensive is
Yes.
coming into
JavaScript, yeah.
JavaScript, yeah.
Exactly.
So I don't want to start a fight here. Sorry guys.
We are not here to fight.
So to answer this Rahul question, is it mandatory to use UI5? I will say no. But if you are taking a decision to go with AngularJS or React.js or any other JavaScript UI framework, or even just use boilerplate or HTML5, just HTML5, then you have to understand is if you are using the application, you are using UI5 to build your SAP application, then it will be much easier on later versions when your application is deployed inside SAP, because at the end your application will be residing inside the ERP systems.
Yes.
If you want to take a different architecture where your UI will be separated and you are using API calls, so that's totally up to you. It is possible, people have done it, but you have to calculate all the
Risks
risk.
involved.
Exactly, you have to calculate all the risk because you are going to take control of all the major problems which can come. So it should be very calculated risk. And my advice will be, if you are comfortable with AngularJS more than UI5, then build your application with AngularJS. But then the difference between the
Yes.
difference should be
So
very
make
high.
sure that whatever APIs you're using, they are compatible with whatever you're using in the front end. So the compatibility doesn't lose. That's what you need to keep in mind while using it.
So I think Deep is saying that okay, the ID is wrongly typed. Yes, I think camel code. It's a very common thing. The ID typo is a common mistake which can keep a programmer busy for like minutes,
and
I think
days.
hours. I think once it happens in our webinar where
Webinar also.
it's a small A, and then we were kind of finding it for 20 minutes. So that is the case here. So moving quickly to the next question here, should I use JavaScript views or XML views? It's a very common question. To be very frank, I have mostly worked on JavaScript views, and because I am comfortable in JavaScript more than XML. Even from a ABAP background, people from ABAP background are more comfortable with XML because
Yes.
XML was technology used significantly like 2 years back.
Exactly.
XML was extensively used. Yeah.
Actually, industry is also using now XML. So
Yeah.
So, well, again, it's a matter of choice, I guess.
Yeah, it's a matter of choice. One thing which I would also like to add is in your API explored, where all the API versions are shown, or how individual components. I think we have seen the library API reference where
Yes.
Explode contains all the codes, and those codes are in XML.
XML only.
So if you are using XML, then you can actually it will be very easy to find the code sections of that. But I think once you get comfortable with
yeah. What you can do is they are very similar in nature.
Yeah.
Basically, the properties and aggregations that you have in XML and JavaScript, the way you write it, it's just different there. But it's kind of common between both.
Yeah.
So,
Like here you put
like
it
how we
inside.
can define like we should use JS or XML. if you are going to make any application and it's like very complicated to you, like if you are good in JS, then use JS, or if you are good in XML, then use
Yeah,
XML.
exactly. So that is the
Exactly.
point.
It's up to choice.
Up to
So,
choice also. One point which comes here is what is the right way in this project, because
Right.
it can happen that in a later point of time
Yeah.
I need to do a lot of customization, which is mostly possible with JavaScript.
True.
I can change the API, add third-party APIs, JavaScript libraries, and make this like a completely different application. Which most of my visualization application, I'm using third-party libraries like D3JS or like Zoho, or some of the components of a button, or like which are third-party in itself. So these are something which I would be, or I was only able to do because I was using JavaScript.
True.
If I would have used XML, then it will be half XML, half JavaScript views, which is possible, but I would
it's very
suggest
difficult, I think.
it's not really best practice to really
Exactly.
have few XML.
So we should
few
use
JavaScript.
like only one technology, not if you are if you are talking with different technologies, if XML and JS, then I think some complicated will be there, like complexity.
Exactly.
if you are talking
So
about.
yeah, for example, mostly it depends on like which project you are working, what are the features which is going to be coming on
Right.
the long term, or what you're going to develop, and how much comfortness you have in JavaScript or XML. So these are three main criterias to select it. If your architect or superior is saying to stick with XML or JavaScript, then do that. But then over time, what you will find is you will be able to read the code of XML, JavaScript. Like no, there will be no difference within like 6 months or 8 months once you start practicing it. Okay,
Right.
so when you have session on OData iteration, smart controls is SAP going. So there is one more question from Deep Agrawal. When we can have a session on OData annotations and smart controls, is SAP gonna keep minimizing role of UI5 front-end developers? I think what we have seen, this is like a personal opinion from my side. I will not have any company statement here. So like this is kind of can really taken as badly, because if it's custom control, then JavaScript views. I think there's one more question. If it's a custom control, then JavaScript views. Yeah, exactly. I think that is my point. If you want to go custom,
Yes.
if you want to have a custom features, most of the custom things, then use JavaScript.
JavaScript,
That's
yes.
I think right. It seems like we're asking question, but I think that is actually the answer.
Answer.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming
Right.
back to the previous question, that SAP is minimizing the task of a UI5 front-end developers. I think the main point here for an enterprise service provider, this is personal opinion, not company statement,
Yeah.
just to like keep in mind while saying the live webinars. Any enterprise developer or a provider, software provider, what they try to do is they try to make their solution easy over time. They don't worry much about how many developers are dependent on this particular technology for this job. So they just want to make their customers, end customers,
Right.
for whom actually we work and deliver solutions, happy, and they will be happy if the solution
It's custom built.
customization is easy, so developer spends less time, and then the final solution is still good.
Yes.
So they keep on minimizing and refining the way we develop it. So the best practices. So they try to close the chances of error by removing the control from a third party developers and keeping it inside the
True.
system itself, or SAP itself. Or it is not only SAP, it's like any vendor, they try to do it.
Exactly.
Even with previous SAP systems, what we used to have is we used to have function predefined within the SAP system itself.
Right.
And we used to just use those, and business development bodies, add-ons. These are some of the ways or mindset which any enterprise application company should be having. And I think in future also you will see that there will be a framework which will be provided, and you have to write few things and entire application will be generated.
True.
I think Fury is exactly the same thing. What like it will be more of that sort of things. They will be removing any sort of chances. They don't want to take chances from a developer angle. Any vendors, I think they want to keep standard as much as strict.
As much high as possible.
Yeah. So that is the mindset of any vendor. So they don't want to create dependency on developers. They want to have a strict standard to be followed. So you will see this pattern to be also kind of coming on more and more.
It always happens with everyone, I guess.
Exactly. Even for us, I think we will try to keep the standard high and fixed, so our customers can really like enjoy, like, if we are promising something, then exactly the same thing to
is
be
being delivered.
delivered, and with minimum variance on the quality.
True.
And we don't want to really get dependent on anyone in between to really hamper that name, because even if you are using UI5 or maybe SAP systems and you are using some apps, still SAP name is being used, or any vendors will actually try to control and kind of minimize the error
Yes.
of or dependency from a developer. So these kind of
Exactly,
things will it always happens.
It always happens.
Yeah. And I think one point which we left is like innovation, and there will be still some gaps for innovation which they
True.
have to keep. So new technologies can really come into pictures. We'll see more and more of innovation coming in AI nowadays, and
Machine learning.
machine learning,
So it's
data
coming.
migration,
Right.
this kind of things. And cloud is already like, people are
Yes.
migrated. Major migration is happening. Okay, so coming back to the final question of SAP UI5, explain the data binding and why the aggregation is used. So you can go through the SAP UI5 professional development course. I have taken a lot of examples there and shown how the aggregation is used,
True.
and why it is used or required in the particular first place. But one thing which I would like to add here is basically when you are having a front-end application, you want to separate your views from your database.
Exactly.
So this is loose coupling which
Loose
should be
coupling.
used, and the data binding actually allows the API calls to have a generic UI. For example, if I am having a list and the list is of a person and a name, and I can have 10 different fields, like
Fields.
like this can be like 3 people here, and then 3 people will have different names. So if I can make the UI generic, like a list, and
Yes.
then the description in the list, then it will be name, and the description will be maybe title or something
Yeah.
about that person. But in the coding, I have to just create a template of how the list will look like, and the binding will take care of multiple replication of that data.
True.
So it's like replicating the tables
Right.
in a UI requires data binding. So we can go through the courses. This is not a short answer. We can. I have given some of the examples there to understand how why the data binding and aggregation is used and how to use in UI5. So okay. So there's one more question from Deepak Agarwal. What should be the way ahead for SAP UI5 front-end developers, career-wise? I think going end-to-end is the right way. From my personal experiences, when I was a contractor in Norway and like other places, where what I have found is don't remain in just UI5. You have to master a lot of things, because when you can deliver the entire solution to a customer, from the UI to backend to migration, so you know about a little bit of basis system
Yes.
handling,
Exactly.
system administration, and you know a little bit about a lot of things about user experience development, UI development. So you can talk to the customer and get requirements. You know
Yeah.
how to integrate with the ERP systems. So if you know all these things, then you will not be dependent on other people for a project.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think that is the best a developer can become. So he becomes an independent entity, and I think to be very frank, the contracting rates are very high of a guy who can single-handedly develop the entire solution
True.
with the highest quality. And those are the people which big companies want to hire, because they don't want to create a team where communication overhead is there and a lot of things. So if you want to grow high, then go end to end, have knowledge of everything. So and but be very strong on the UI, which is your core, and have knowledge of everything. So you don't have to depend on people. You can write service calls also.
Yes.
You can develop UI also. Even if there's a data migration or administration or roles assignment in security part, you can create those roles, assign those roles if you have the accesses first in the first place. So this is something
Right.
which you should
That's
focus
how
on.
you get accesses.
Yeah, so I think master of one and jackal of all, and going end to end will make a developer much more capable, because you can single-handedly develop the solution, and then a lot of people, big companies will try to hire you as an expert, subject matter expert in that case, and the billing rates will be much higher for you. So, and then later on you can become an architect if you get a lot of experiences, and then
True.
these are the good path you can go. If you, or else you can become a manager, project manager. You have to manage the resources and time and money and budget.
So, if anyone wants to become a UI architect, so what are the knowledge he should know, like UI5 and other knowledge, like what should he?
Yeah, I think becoming a UI architect, it depends, because see, when we talk about UI architect, the guy should know a lot of things, not only just how to code on JavaScript like this.
Exactly.
He should know also Git, how to work with Eclipse, also know about version controlling, testing, so a little bit of everything, because at the later point of time, this architect is going to be the person.
Also an in-depth knowledge of the technology he is working on, because he should know how to optimize his things. He should know how to optimize the entire infrastructure that he will be building.
Exactly.
He should know that if I do something here, what can break.
So what can be
Exactly. I think that
Those
is
are
the most
sort
important
of
things. Yeah.
that,
Okay.
he
Fine.
So keeping the entire team on the right path, because what happens is whenever you want to develop a feature, and then the people will say, okay, we will pick this technology, we will pick that technology, we'll do that, do this. The architect is the person who will see or foresee the problem before it happens.
Exactly.
And will
Exactly.
say, okay, we should not go here, because then in future we are going to develop this features, and that will break our entire system.
Yes.
And the architect, normally people become architect after a lot of experiences, because they have seen a lot of failures, and then like each failure is a learning opportunity, and then they have learned from it, and then
Right.
they will protect any new team from like repeating those mistakes.
True.
Or you read a lot of books.
Exactly.
Or maybe blogs, or
And you should
our videos.
also know what the technology is good at. Like, why should you use that technology? If you are picking backend as Node.js or Python, you should know why you should pick up Node.js. or why
Middleware, I
should-
think middleware
So-
thing, yeah.
Yeah,
pick up
actually, yeah.
Python.
For middleware, we have to decide like what we are going to use and why we are using this. So
Yes.
so that we can reduce our effort, and efficiency of our software should be good.
Exactly.
So I think for that he needed the knowledge of entire solution.
Yeah, it's system which we talk about mostly, and the system comprises of many softwares, many
Right.
integration, and many people also in processes. So how to really push the code, how to collaborate, or how the
Right.
documents are maintained.
True.
Sometimes documents are automatically updated once you push the software. So a lot of things comes in. Okay, so there is like, is it okay for you if a developer generate the OData service metadata so to not have any dependency on backend team? Is this approach being followed by industry? I think this is the right thing which we are talking about now, because you should do it,
Yes.
because in a project which you might be working on, they might have processes that, okay, there is a backend team and there is a UI
Front
team.
UI team.
But if you want to really work on a project where your billing rate is high, you get more money. To be like very frank, you get more money.
Right. This
You,
is the major
yeah,
point.
yeah, exactly. Because what will happen? The customer will say, okay, I need this feature.
Exactly.
And then that feature, to create that feature, you have to do some changes on the back end, middleware, and front end.
And front end,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you know how to do all those things together, then they will be only dependent on you. It is
Yes.
bad to create dependency for a manager, but if you have created dependency, you can ask higher price for your service in industry, and going full end to end, or like knowing all these things together, so you can single-handedly deliver it.
Right.
Makes you more valuable for the customer, and once you are more valuable for any business, you get more money.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Become an asset, not a liability.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Exactly.
yeah.
This is the point, like.
So yeah. Okay, so coming back to Python now. So Kripa, this is now your field.
Yeah.
So all the people who are from Python, they can ask
Yeah,
us
Python.
questions. We are having the live chat now running
Yes.
in our YouTube live stream, and we are taking a lot of questions. So Deep Agarwal is asking a lot of questions. Thank you, Deep, for creating this engagement. And we also have Rahul with us. And you can also ask any question related to IoT also,
True.
and mean
Mean
stack.
stack.
Or any question in general which is present as a course in our platform.
Yes.
So I think one question also.
What
asked
is
by
difference
Karthik.
between SAP UI5 and Open UI5? Yeah, so I think mostly if I want to use OpenUI5, I don't have to. It's an open source.
It's an open source code. You have the code available with you, so you can just go under the hood and see what's in there. SAP UI5 is like SAP proprietary, so that's the basic difference between.
So
the
Yeah,
two.
I think the main difference comes in that if I want to use SAP UI5, then I have to have a license of any existing product of
Yes.
SAP. I can still write my game in OpenUI5 and put it in website because
Yeah.
this is open source and it comes with the open source license, Apache 2 license, I guess. And then if I want to use SAP UI5 as a commercial basis, then I have to
Okay.
take permission of SAP.
SAP.
That okay, I'm using it for commercial basis and I'm making money from it. Even if you are using for non-commercial purpose, but you're presenting your website or business with SAP
Sure.
UI5, you have to take the permission or license of any of the existing application from SAP. So this is the main difference. And then Deepak was saying you guys are awesome. I
Thanks,
think
Deepak.
yeah, we are a little crazy people. I think. Okay, so Python.
So, yeah.
the snake is coming.
Now Python is back. So the first question is how garbage collection works in Python. So garbage collection is important for any language. Even we are talking about programming language. So
Yeah.
Java is there. So garbage collection works for memory optimization.
True.
So if we are allocating the object, we are going to deallocate it. So there should be one guy who can take care of memory. Okay. So garbage collector will run when the deallocated and allocated objects will be like allocated object minus deallocated object of threshold of garbage collection. So
Okay.
I mean, if I can develop here, I can get the threshold value first, and then we can check. Okay, if it is moving like allocating object minus deallocating object, then the value is higher than threshold, then it will start. So this is
Okay.
the like most confusing question, when it will start. Okay.
Yeah, I think one
So-
question, one thing which I have to add here, garbage collection in Chrome browser mainly.
Yes.
There is like a slow and a fast garbage collection, I think.
Yeah, actually in Chrome, I don't know. I think it is developed in JS.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't have idea about Chrome, but yeah, in Python actually, when it will run, so it will run depends on allocating allocated object minus deallocated object equals or greater than threshold value. Then it will
Okay.
start run. Okay. So even we can start with programming also. Like I will give you some example how we can get the threshold value of any program.
Okay, so I think mainly it is depend on threshold value.
Yes.
So should I share the screen?
So,
you can
so what is the threshold value here?
Threshold value is like it is defined by Python compiler.
Okay.
So we can check it. What is the threshold value of our compiler? So
Okay.
it depends. So we cannot fix it like this is the threshold value.
I mean, like, so for say Python 2.7,
So it's 700.
it's 700.
Yes.
So number of allocated objects
minus
number of
deallocated object is
allocated
going to the
object.
greater than or equals to 700.
700.
Then it will start
Garbage
the
collection.
garbage collection.
Okay.
So if we are going to share our screen.
Yeah, I have already shared the screen. So
Okay, fine.
One thing which I would also like to tell here, because many people will say, okay, you are from UI5 or SAP community and why Python has been involved. To be very honest, people from SAP are already experimenting on Python on
Yes.
data migration.
So it's
large
future
scale.
technology, you can say. So in IoT, you can see Python is now they are going to accept. And if we are talking about CS and IT sector, for memory optimization, for data handling
Migration,
and
yeah.
all, so there we are using Python now, and it is very easy to use. That's what
Yes.
we can reduce our programming code, LOC, line of code. So that's what they are moving to Python now.
Yeah, because I was working with a data migration project
Exactly.
for SAP itself, the SLT system landscape transformation. I think S4HANA we were working.
Yeah.
And then we have to use Python because the level or scale of the data was quite big.
Yes.
Very
And
big.
the Python libraries already has predefined functions to take care of it. So it was pretty good or smooth when we were using Python. And I think a lot of developers who want to be future generation developer
Yes.
should
So-
get their hands dirty with Node.js and Python to be on the market or to really
Exactly.
like no in coming 2 years if you are ready with these two technology, like people will be kind of dying for you. Like just
True,
take my
yeah.
words.
Yeah, true.
Just take my
That's
words. So this is kind of what is going to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, continue the memory
So, yeah.
allocation, please. Yeah.
So what we can do is just we need to import GC. So this is garbage collector.
Okay.
This is the package we are going to import here, and just we can print gc.get. So there is a get threshold. So using this function, you can be able to know like what is the threshold value of our project. So here you can see this is a 700. Okay. So 700 means then allocated object minus deallocated object will move to the it's greater than or equals to 700. Then it will start running.
Okay.
But if you want to run it, you can use, there is a function which is provided by GC, gc.collect. So this method will collect manually if you want to start.
Okay, so this is like a
So-
forced way of starting it. Like even if it does
Yeah,
not cross
forcefully
the
if you want to start
threshold.
and if you before threshold value, so it
Okay.
will start. So it's up to you. If you want to use, then use it. But I think for your project, it's necessary to use garbage collector
Yes.
because it is very important to minimize memory optimization.
Yeah.
And all right.
Yeah, so
So-
in case of UI5 in JavaScript applications, I think just because you have taken this topic in Python, I think this
Yes.
is complete, right? The answer is complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will just
Top
add
my
few
head,
lines
so-
for JavaScript also. I think we will add few lines for JavaScript also. So I think we are not competing, but we are just kind of
Yeah. No, we
sharing
can,
our opinion.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can share the different views on garbage collection because it's very important question in any programming language.
Yeah.
Not
So
for Python.
I think a few years back I was working on a project where I was working on big data projects, and all the a lot of data were coming in the browser, and I was showing the visualization, and it was in some GBs the data the browser was handling,
Yes.
and I want to understand how the garbage collection works in the browser, because I want
Right.
to free the memory as soon as I switch to
I'm
different
done with
So
activity.
actually,
the-
memory is
Yeah.
limited, in
Exactly.
any system. So,
So
we have to
basically,
free.
what happens? There is a stack which start from the 0, and there's a heap which start from the highest memory location.
Yes.
Heaps start from the highest memory location and goes down,
Yes.
and the stacks goes
Goes
up.
up.
Yeah. So and then if they collide, that means it's a crash.
Yes.
That's how, like in computer science, we have
Exactly.
get the thought.
And the
Been
solution
told,
is
and that is exactly
restart
what-
the system.
Yeah, restart the system. Yeah. So the memory collection works, garbage collection works when they are about to crash or they
Right.
actually crash. So
Exactly.
the heap is kind of dynamic allocation, and
Yes.
stack stores mostly programs,
Yeah, the
functions,
So-
calls,
the
and all.
stack calls.
So
Yeah,
we
basically.
can say this is a deadlock condition is came
Exactly. So a lot of UFI question, how UFI differs from React Native every product. I think if you are comfortable with React Native, go with React Native. It is a very powerful,
It's a very powerful
library. Very powerful.
library.
I work with React Native. If you know React Native, just use React Native. That's all. So if you know, means you know properly. It's not that like you have just seen 2 YouTube videos and like you can work on it. No, you know it properly. The framework. There are a lot of things in React Native. I work with React.js, so I think you have to understand
It's
the
very
framework
powerful.
of it. Yeah, there are like 7 steps. I don't remember exactly. 4 steps, and then you have to know exactly what to do where in React Native and React.
Right.
The final product is very fast. It works with virtual DOM concept.
Virtual DOM concept.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the UI just changes rapidly. Okay, so coming back to the
Yes.
second question for Python. Ask question for Python. If you don't have question, just kind of create questions and go in the stack and check
Yeah,
his
actually, these are all
capabilities.
enough.
What are features in Python? Like, is this a question?
Yes, this is a question actually. Everyone is having this question. Why we are moving to Python?
Yeah.
So there is a valid reason to moving the Python. Python supports both functional and object-oriented programming. So we can easily integrate the previous softwares. If you develop in C or Java, it's very easy to migrate.
Migrate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what they are using Python. So if we are talking about C application which is developed in C,
Yeah.
and we want to migrate it, so we have to use Python,
Python.
and for Java, Python is
Python
there.
is there.
So lots of supported libraries. Because of that only now we are using it.
It has got a
And,
huge community support, right?
Yes, and support is very good.
Yeah.
There are lots of libraries, packages, supports, and it's very easy to use also. So there is less chances to make mistakes because there are no semicolon. There are No curly braces also.
Only thing you need to make sure that you don't put spaces instead of tab.
Yes. This is the thing only. We have to
Silicon
remember.
Valley. Yeah.
So that's what I. And the other thing is garbage collector is very powerful here.
Yes.
So using this, we can do the memory optimization as well. So that's what now industry is moving fast with Python, and they are grabbing it because in machine learning, it's very like popular in machine learning and artificial intelligence. And if you want to handle the big data, so Python is very good. So that's what now industry is using Python.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Python mostly from a enterprise standpoint of view, I'm seeing the projects which are actually currently running. People are mostly using for data migration,
Exactly.
and there's too much demand for people who can do SLT. I think we were also
Yes.
getting those projects for S4 HANA migration, and people want to write
Migrate.
custom
Yes.
libraries basically. Not only that, I think we developed those things as well.
We have developed those things.
Yeah, we have developed those things and we were working on it. We cannot share much details about it because we have signed an NDA contract and all. So just to give you an idea, I think the data migration on a very large scale, where we are talking about TBs of data and making sure each new field is being mapped from the old data fields and
Yes.
smoothly being mapped very nicely, very fast. This is the main reason in SAP Enterprise.
Yes,
I think in
exactly.
SAP world, people are using Python now. The other thing which I think I have seen is Python connectivity,
Yes.
connections.
So actually, if we are
Yeah.
talking about hardware, so if we will see the finally we are working with hardware, right?
Yeah.
So we are running our software with hardware. We want to interact with the hardware, so interact with the hardware with Python is very easy. So that's what now robotics, semiconductor
Robotics.
companies, electronic companies, they are using Python. Okay. So communication with the hardware, we can communicate directly because at the end of Python there is a C.
Yeah, it's
C libraries.
built
Oh,
on-
yeah.
So because C interacts with the hardware directly, and using Python we can directly control the hardwares now. And for example, Raspberry Pi, we are able to control the GPIOs directly. We are able to send the signals. And if you are talking about robotics, so US is developing militant robotics, and they are developing machine learning and AI. They are using, and they are controlling hardwares directly.
Yes.
So they are using Python. This is the capability of Python.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful language.
Yeah, I think what I will suggest people to really do, even if they are not from SAP or SAP background, is to learn Python, because when I was working on IoT also, I was doing the same thing from Java, Python, and Node.js. I found that Raspberry Pi already had Python things, and I have to write very few line of code.
Very
It was
Yes.
working like charm within minutes.
Within seconds.
Within seconds. But like when I was working with, I think
Exactly.
Java is very powerful. I don't mean to really.
We cannot compare. It's
Compare,
depend on
yes.
application.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
application we are going to develop.
From my experience, the hardware programming was much easier with Python when I was working with Java.
Exactly.
It may be that I am bad with Java, maybe.
Yeah.
But like I found myself.
Yeah, actually,
much
it's
easier.
little difficult and complex using Java.
Yeah.
And if you are doing the same task with Python, it's very easy.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
this is the difference now. And in this
As
thing
you
is
said,
we are
Python
using-
is both a functional programming language and an object programming language.
Yes.
So it becomes easier doing the functional part of
Exactly,
it.
that is the point. We can develop like functional any application and object-oriented application
True.
for security reasons.
Yeah, so coming back to the next question, I think because we have already
Yes.
kind of covered a lot of
We have developed.
ends and means of Python, and then like if you are not a fan of Python now, then you will never be. So okay.
You will be.
Okay, so I think
Or you should just start learning Python because you can just pick it up in say 2 hours.
2 hours.
For future,
I
if-
think I said too much.
Too much.
If
Okay.
you are looking for future technology, definitely you are going to learn Python. There is a demand.
True.
And maybe in your industry also, like in your company or where you're working, and there also they are going to move in IoT sector, and there it is very useful. If you know the Python, you will be grabbing the things easily.
Yes.
So now every company is using, right, IoT.
Yeah.
Like Google, even Dell is started with VM software, like VM solution. They have hired take over that company, and now they are working on IoT solutions. So IoT is the future, I can
Yes.
say.
Yeah,
This is the
exactly.
word.
And Python is the way to it.
Yes. So
So
Python is
I
the
think
to
what
interact the hardware.
we have done now is we have made the bundle ongoing things where
Yes.
if
Yes.
anything new comes in, we add it to our existing bundle, and you will be seeing much more changes in our platform itself. And Python is going to play a major role when we do the hardware integration or hardware controls, data migration controls.
Yes,
and
and web application also.
Exactly, with Django.
And if you are going to for automation, and if you want to become a good SQA,
I think you were working on with Apple and Broadcom.
Yes, in Broadcom I
automation,
worked in SQA. So there I did lots of automation with Python, and I interacted with the hardware. So like every industry is using now Python in automation as well.
Okay, so going back to the next
Yes.
question. This is, I think, a question asked
Yes.
really as a coding level question. I think, do you want to share the screen?
Yeah, I need to share this.
Yeah,
screen.
yeah,
So the
yeah.
question was
How to capitalize, I think the question was.
how to capitalize the string, the first letter of a string.
Yeah.
So let's say I will be there is a variable.
Okay, just a question before you start. Are the strings
Yes.
mutable in Python?
Okay, no. Actually, in Python, a string is immutable, and immutable means we cannot change it. If we assign, let's say this is our variable name, and we write something, let's say Rahul. So this is now immutable. We cannot change it. So if I will assign again, let's say name equals something like let's say Rohit. So now it will create different object.
Okay.
So it will not append on that.
So he could have used
This is-
-v and Ajay also.
Yeah, we can put here.
See,
So
the war
this
has
is-
started.
So
that's
he
why
don't
I
like
learned
JavaScript now.
JavaScript.
Yeah,
No,
that-
I like
that's-
JavaScript because I am developing a web application also.
So,
I
I think,
need- so okay. So how we can capitalize the first letter of a string? So it's very easy in Python. So I will start and print a statement. So name dot. So there are lots of methods supports with this string.
So here you can see in Eclipse itself the functions have been shown.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here you can see if we are going to use capitalize. So here you can see this is the description. Return a copy of the string. It will not append on that. It will return a copy. That's what, because
Strings
string
are
is
immutable.
immutable. Okay.
So
With-
which ID is this?
This
The
is
one that you
Eclipse
use?
IDE,
Eclipse
and
IDE.
market is using this Eclipse
So,
IDE,
okay.
and so we also in industry, so so we are using
Yeah.
this Eclipse, and so this capitalize method will work for this functionality. So if I will use this,
So as you said that Python is using C under the hood, so it should be faster, right?
yes,
Yeah.
so it's faster. There is, we can say there is a less compilation as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So because it is written in C and there are lots of built-ins, so built-ins is nothing. Whatever libraries we are writing in C, this is called built-ins. So we cannot see the structure of that built-ins. Okay. So but this is completely described in our lecture and first series. So
Okay.
if anyone is interested, then he can watch.
I guess the
videos also.
first one is free too, right?
Yes. So
Yeah, yeah.
first series
Python
is-
course?
Yeah, it's an 8-hour course and it's free.
Yeah.
Completely-
So,
Yeah,
so,
so-
do go through
Yes,
it.
you can go
and
in deep, and there I discussed everything, each and everything with memory level.
Is there is one more question from Rahul Jain. Is there any possibility to get IntelliSense of UI5 libraries in Eclipse while doing them? I think that's a very good question because
Yes.
that's exactly what was going through in my mind when I saw he wrote name dot and
it gave
options
the
came in.
list of all the
Yeah. So
functions you can use.
because I want to share one experience when I was initially working on JavaScript library of UI5, there was a ID called WebStorm ID. And if you are using WebStorm ID, then those was coming in because I was using the API reference. I don't have to go to API reference. I will just say dot, and then suddenly you will get all the
It'll give
options.
Yes.
All the
Yeah.
options.
I think you can use WebStorm ID for it. In
So
Eclipse,
in Eclipse,
I
it's
think
there.
in UI5, I think if you are using web mode of the Eclipse, there is a possibility that it will show all the functions.
Yeah.
But I think there is a hack also, which normally I
Yes.
use.
Actually, in Python also, I did settings. Without
No,
settings,
I'm not talking
possible.
about.
So
I think you can press
Ah.
Control space, and it will show all the like no.
actually, before that, you have to migrate it.
Okay, yeah.
It's not possible directly if you are going to Eclipse. You are typing something. It's not possible. So you have to do some hack.
I think in Eclipse, if you are adding those libraries, for example, in Java, we were.
Yes.
I think I have not really worked on Python,
So-
but in Java,
No, you
we're
have
setting
to
the path.
change the settings.
Yes,
of
we have to
whatever
set the
we-
path.
Yeah, yeah.
If
Yes.
path is correct, then it is checking inside the path whatever libraries is there, and then they are populating here. So I think
In
maybe
UI5, when you are using Eclipse, even if you have set the path, I think it takes a little time and the development is very slow. Developer want to develop the solution fast when you get little hands-on
Exactly,
experience.
exactly.
And then those were a little annoying. So either you can go with WebStorm. The I think Control Assist, it is called Control Assist, is very fast in WebStorm. Or else you can go to console of the browser if you are using the front-end application.
Yes.
Right.
In the console,
Console, it's
if
You'll
you are
use
having
it
that
all.
object and you press a dot, then all the particular possibility comes into picture. And I
Yes.
think I have shown that in our professional development course, this hack.
It's also in our webinars, like while we're testing it out.
Yeah, exactly. But I think in our courses, I have
It's explained
properly,
much
yeah,
better.
so in the all the scenarios, how to
Yes.
really use it, and like how properly you can take kind of this hack and really reduce
Yes.
your guessing thing when you are like
True.
as a developer, you're
Exactly.
thinking,
So
okay, what
you
will
cannot remember all the things, right?
exactly,
So
that is the
that's
point.
problem.
So it's
So,
very
yeah.
difficult for anyone to remember all the
Exactly.
functions.
So
Yeah.
to improve the efficiency, we can say, so it's good if they are populating some conditions. So
Yeah, so going to the next question now, I think to if I
so this is output. Actually, we forgot to talk
So-
about output. So you can
yeah, we've talked everything but the output.
We didn't talk about output.
Rahul is not important here, right?
So Raul is important here, and mostly R is important.
R.
So you can see here, this is
No, I think we should use Python or D3JS, not R. No. Just to
Okay,
clarify this
okay.
joke.
Exactly.
R is a
R
programming.
is a programming language. I think it's upcoming.
Not upcoming. I think most of
It's
the people are using
there
that.
for data science.
In that data science only they are using. Right?
Yeah, data science, and I think
And there
It's
is
a
a competition
mathematical
with
tool.
Python and
Python and
R
R.
language.
So I don't like R, on Rahul.
Yes.
Okay, but
So
the
you
question
can
was
see
from
here,
Rahul.
R.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Rahul. I think we didn't realize that your name is Rahul. Okay, so I think hopefully we have answered the question of Rahul Jain also. You can use the WebStorm. It's a paid IDE free license. You will get free trial also.
Yeah.
Or you can go to console and you will get the power of having context assist. Eclipse web version, WebID has little better context assist than the standalone. In UI5 library, it is a little slow, as I have experienced. I think Rahul is kind of making fun now. Okay, so going back to the next question of Python.
Yes,
Yeah, so how to use zip function. So let me come back to the slide. So zip is a function of Python. So someone has asked in your course. I think your course I think Python course are the best seller course in our platform. So like from a result standpoint is winning.
So actually zip function is very useful if you are making any application or web application as well. So let's say if you want to iterate two sequences parallelly or
Yes.
n number of sequences parallelly, then how you can iterate. So it's like very easy in Python. So I will tell you using my programming. I will show one program like 2 lines or 3 lines max. Okay.
Okay, let me share the
Screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just going in the corner. I have to share the first.
Okay.
So let's say this is a sequence 1. Okay, and there is a list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the elements. Okay, and there is a sequence 2 as well. Here. So let's say 5, not 5. I will start
6,
from
7,
6,
8, 9,
7.
10.
Oh, it's not dot. 7, 8, 9, and I think we can make it 10 also.
0.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yes, if you want, I will make it 0. Okay. So now let's say if I want to iterate each element,
Yes.
and it should be parallel, like first element of sequence 1, first element of sequence 2.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to iterate parallelly, then how you can iterate? So it's not possible, right?
Yes.
Without zip function. So
No, it's possible, but you'll have to keep track of many corner cases, like which sequence is
it's very-
bigger or smaller. Then you have to go
it's
over a
very
loop.
complex.
It's
Okay.
up complex. You can do it in one line using
Yes.
zip.
So how you can do it? So I will make a zip function. So here you can see. I will print it first. So zip, and here we can pass the sequence. So sequence 1, and here we can pass n number of sequence. It's up to you.
One question which I have is, what does the zips do?
Yes. So
We'll
after
just
seeing
see
the
that.
output, you
Oh,
can
okay,
realize
okay.
it. So these are the element of new list. So
And-
first element of first sequence and first element of second sequence. So like this, it will we can
Make pairs.
map to the
Yeah.
tuples.
If the sequence 2 has
So-
only 3 elements, then
Yes, sequence 2 is having 3 elements.
Ah,
only. So it will make 3 elements in the next. So if let's say if they are matching these 3,
Okay,
so
okay.
only
They'll
3
just
elements
make
you can be able to create. So now if I want to iterate it, so I will create again here. So how you can iterate? It's very easy. So I will create a for loop, and let's say a comma b. These are 2 variables. Okay, and in zip.
I thought zip is like zipping, like compressing something.
Yes, we can say so sequence 2. Okay, so in only one for loop we can be able to work.
I've seen application of zip a lot in machine learning.
Machine learning and AI as well.
Yes.
Even and web application also we are using. So zip is very important function. Even map, reduce. There are lots of functions they are
Yes.
provided to improve the efficiency of programmer. Okay. So now in one for loop I can be able to iterate all the elements you can see here. So first element of sequence 1, first element of sequence 2. So in this way you can be able to iterate in only for one for loop. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the use of zip function, and it's very important in interview as well. If you want to crack experience based interview, they're asking for zip function.
Yeah, so I think the zip is one of the most important question which is asked in interviews. I think
True.
Python, not Python.
We can-
Python.
It's up to you how you are
Python.
pronouncing it.
Potato,
So-
Potato, tomato. So Python developers earn more money, or UI5 developers earn more money?
Python developers more money.
Like,
They can earn.
Like, okay, let's talk numbers.
Let's not
Okay,
go there.
Okay, let's not go there. No,
No, actually we cannot.
2 versus 1.
We cannot compare. It's like how much skills you have.
Okay.
So entire application you can develop in Python only.
Yeah.
That is
So
the main point.
One more
We
question
can-
is
we
that how
can
Python
do
is
it
a
in
dynamic
JavaScript.
type language.
Yes. So Python is dynamic type language. Here we can directly be able to know the what kind of data at runtime we are passing, and we can be able to know what kind of data you are passing at runtime. Okay. So I mean, so there is no functionality with other programming language. So they are not dynamic type. So here I will give you an example, and so that you can understand easily. So I will create a function.
Let me share the screen
Sorry.
first. Yeah. So
I forgot to. Okay, fine. So I'm creating a function, so which will check type of any data, which we will give at runtime. Okay. So let's say there is a variable, and I can able to check, but I need to import one library. Import the library was I need to import from type. So from type, and here I will import all the functionality of this module. Okay. So after that, here just I need to create a checkpoint. So checkpoint is if type of my variable equals, let's say if we want to check for a string type. Okay. So our application should be able to handle only string. If user is supplying like integer or other kind of data, so it should be like can give an error, or it can give an it can ask
Warning
for the
kind of a thing.
warning, or it can ask for the string type of data.
Okay.
So here just we will see. So this is a simple question. So string type, and we can type here, let's say print valid data. So for validating data, we can use it. So even we are using in industry as well. So here just I will create a else condition here, else clause, and print bad data. Okay, so we are validating our data here. So this is also important question in interview. They are asking for like experienced guy who is having 3 years experience or 4 years experience. They are asking this question. So here I will create a checkpoint if name double underscore equals double underscore main, and here I will call this math function. So this is check type, and here I will pass the data, let's say hi. So this data is string type. Okay, so we want to validate it. So you can see the output, it's valid. Okay, so it's checking the type, and let's say if I will pass here 50, so which is integer data, right? So this number data, you can see here bad data.
Okay.
So if you're passing any data which is not a string, so to validate this data you can use this type, and it's very important. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the answer of this question.
Yeah.
What I think it is there in C and C++ too. I mean,
Type
there's this
checking.
type of
Type
keyword
of is there.
JavaScript also.
Yes, but it is dynamic type. We can, let's say if you are passing any like big file, so and you want to validate that data of a stream and like frames, so you can validate easily here, and it is very fast.
Okay. Okay. Some
Okay, so I think let me check. Okay, so I think if we are, so there was some service disruption. I think for quickly 1 second, but that's, I think we are back live now. Just to clarify, we have covered all the questions of Python.
Yes.
So like it's a big relief.
Big discussion.
Yeah. So I think you can ask any question related to Python. UI5 mean stack, which is AngularJS, Node.js, MongoDB, ExpressJS, and IoT, Internet of Things,
Right.
or any new upcoming web technologies or any other technologies which might be used in enterprise. We'll be able
Yes.
to answer it.
I think we have a question from Rahul. Are we guys planning for SAP UI5 online webinar?
Yeah, I think there will be one event where we will be if yes, then please do keep us posted. Yeah, I think we will be having SAP UFI online webinars. We had
few in the past, and we will be continuing it.
Yeah, I think what happened is what we found is some of the people want to cover specific topics. And
Exactly.
we are working on those topics which is like in demand in marketplace, in
Yes.
industry, and few of the experts have also joined us like in our team. And I think so most probably I think some of the webinars will be paid now because
Yeah.
these are like the technologies which people are like we are getting people these are advanced technologies like future based technologies, and people have been working with us from Germany and like Portugal to really develop some of the webinars which are going to be high.
Yes.
The quality will be much better, so I think in future we will be seeing some of the paid webinars also, but we will keep you posted for the free webinar and paid, both of those. We will be doing more of the doubt clearing session and Q&A sessions like this in future, which will be streamed in YouTube itself for free.
Yeah.
So I think we will be keeping everyone posted as well. Yeah, exactly. So okay, so going back to mean stack. So now
So
we are
back to mean.
Yeah. So let me come back to the mean. So the first thing, a question which was asked is it possible to exchange data among different modules of your AngularJS application?
Yes. So of course it is possible because when you are using libraries that are made on AngularJS, what you are basically doing is importing those modules inside your own Angular app and then using it. So similarly, if you have two modules in your own Angular app, then what you can do is add it as a dependency injection. So say you have the first module and you have the second module. The first one is named A and the second one is B. So you can add A as a dependency in B, and then you can access all the services and factories that are available in A in your B module. So yes, you can do that. So that answers the first question.
Okay, so I think.
So is there any parser to pass the data from one app to other app? So how you are making this injection?
You need to specify the path. It should have a relative path to it.
Okay.
So if it knows that yes, this specific app is present in that path, it can take the module from there.
Okay.
Yes.
This way you are going to create it.
Yeah, okay, so I think now, I think this answers the questions.
Yes.
So let's quickly wrap the questions from mean stack. What are callbacks? Is it
Okay.
always asked to avoid callback hell? So what? Okay, why should we use them?
Why should
it's
we
very
use
common in
callbacks
Node.js.
if
Yeah.
we are getting callback hell and everyone is telling us to avoid it?
Yeah.
So just to give you an idea of what callback hell is, even before that, let me answer what callback is. So Node.js is a single thread application. Like even if you think that it can process all the input and output, then how is it single threaded?
Yes,
like
yes, exactly.
it's serving every request that it's getting.
Yes.
So basically, what Node does is it's concurrent.
Yeah.
So it keeps an event loop, and whenever any request comes, uh, it completes that request and it fires an event that okay, this event has happened, and those events are fired inside a callback. So that's what callback is. So whenever an event has completed, you get the response that okay, this event has completed and the data that you wanted is here, and that comes inside the callback. So what happens is you have callback inside callback, and then you have another callback inside it. So it goes on in a nested way, and you get, you know, too much of nesting of callbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So too much of nesting is what callback hell is.
Yeah.
Okay, and you should totally avoid it. And to avoid it, what you need to do is modularize your code. So modularizing means you can define the functions beforehand, or maybe you can use promises. So there are good promise libraries in Node.js like Q, and you can use it to ensure that you're not using too much of callbacks inside callbacks.
Yeah, even I think UI5 I was
Yes.
I had used promises when I was writing Ajax calls.
Yes.
To get the data from the backend from ERP. I was writing it in Ajax, not using old libraries, but like just writing it myself because it was custom made features which I was developing. So
Yes.
I wrote some of the promises there for something related to maps I was doing. So
And then coming back to question, why should we use callbacks? So Node.js by default is asynchronous in nature.
yeah.
So if you have given a request, it would go on executing that request and it would move on to the next statement that you have. It would not wait for the previous statement to complete. So to make it synchronous, you need callback. So when it has completed a request, it would send a event saying that okay, this has completed, now this is your data, and that is something that you get as callback. So you can use that data inside that callback and make your program synchronous if it's really necessary. Like if you are reading a very big data and you want to process it, like run some statements after it has read all the data, then you should use callbacks. So that's the biggest reason why you should be using callback, even though it said that you should avoid callback helps.
Okay, so I think that answers the questions. I think it was very important question, which even I think in JavaScript mostly it is
In
related to.
JavaScript mostly,
Yeah.
yeah. And not just Node, but
In JavaScript,
in general.
well, yeah, in general, yeah. So I think in Python it might not be the case, but.
No, it's actually in Django if you are developing.
Okay, that's all. That's all. So let's.
There, but in different way.
Yeah.
That's another very
What
important
should
question.
be maximum number of concurrent watches? What is watches?
Watches.
So watches. Okay. Let me explain it to you. So we have data binding in AngularJS also. So this question is completely related to AngularJS. So whenever we are using those data bindings in our DOM elements or in our app, basically, so we have a scope variable which keeps a watch of those variables we have used in data binding. So whenever it sees that there is a change in those variables, it updates the DOM immediately.
Okay.
Okay. So that process is called digest cycle. So it's dynamic that way. Whenever a value changes, Angular knows that the value has changed and it updates wherever required.
Right.
So that's watch. Like AngularJS is watching the variables. So we can put our own watches on our specific variables.
Okay.
Another thing is, if we have too many watches, Angular will have to keep a track of too many variables, and it would make your app really slow. Now you don't want that to happen.
Exactly.
Now this number of concurrent watches, like how many watches should you keep? So if I am to give you a number, it should be lesser than 2000.
Less than 2000.
Okay.
Lesser than 2000.
But it's not dependent on like a system.
Yes, it is dependent.
Okay.
So the main dependency is on your screen refresh rate. So say it's 50 frames per second.
Okay.
Okay. So then for one frame,
Mhm.
you get around 1/50 seconds. That's close to 20 milliseconds.
20 milliseconds.
So you have 20 milliseconds to see all the changes and update it in the next frame.
Right.
So in 20 milliseconds, how many changes can you watch and update?
Exactly.
So that's how it is limited.
Okay. So it's based on frequency.
Yes.
Okay.
The frequency on which the screen is refreshing.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So the answer is like 2000. You should keep it lesser than 2000. And then you have a utility called ng-stats.
Yeah.
Now it will give you a track of how many watches do you have in your app.
Yeah.
And also how many digest cycles are running.
Yeah.
Okay. So is like one watch can watch a number of variables, or like for one variables one watch?
No,
Is there any
we
limitation?
have like whenever you add a variable to the scope object.
Okay.
So we have a dollar scope object in Angular. So whenever you add any variable to dollar scope object, it automatically gets added to the watch.
Okay.
So those variables gets watched by Angular.
So related to that object,
Yes.
you can say. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that concludes the answer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So next is, what is event loops and event emitters?
Okay, so event loops. Like I told you, callbacks are there. Angular keeps a. I'm sorry, this is Node.js.
Yeah.
So Node keeps an event loop, and whenever an event, a request is completed, an event is fired. So whenever a request comes, it goes to the event loop, and it goes ahead and completes that request. And event emitter is the one that fires the event.
Okay.
So that's basically the difference between event loop and event emitter. Event loop is the one that takes the request and processes it.
Exactly.
And event emitter is the one that actually fires it. Now event
Okay.
emitter has other uses too. So event emitter is fired every time a request is finished,
Okay.
or an event has occurred, basically,
Fine.
or if I have added an event listener.
Okay.
At those points, we have these events.
So as name is suggested, like emitter, so it is emitting the.
It's emitting the event.
Yeah, exactly. So I think these are some of the questions, even I think any event-driven programming language, these are like
Yes.
architectural questions, which is I think Node.js,
Yeah.
mostly it is dependent on events based.
Events.
I think
It's an
when
event-based scripting language. Like an event happens, it processes it, and it fires an event. Okay.
yes.
So that's the core of Node.js basically.
Yeah. So in our course also, when I think Ved was working on the Instagram, I think Ved
Yes.
is making an Instagram and showing
Right.
how to use Node.js. It's a
Exactly.
very nice application he has built, and there he was like showing me all this like cool stuff which we can do within this small app itself. And I think you should check out that course within.
Yes.
For a UI5 guy or like developers, I think Node.js will be coming in future generation in SAP itself. I will not tell you how or why because I has signed an NDA clause.
Yes.
So just learn Node.js. It will help you in the future version of SAP. Okay, not going in the deep level here. So okay, what is the next parameters in Express routing?
Okay.
What is Express routing first?
Okay, so Express is a framework that you use with Node to basically create a full-fledged server. Now it makes it really easy for you to develop REST-based APIs. Okay, so you have the GET request, POST request, and it matches the URL that you pass to those functions like GET and POST. So that specific function would again give you a callback.
Okay.
Okay, and that callback will have request object, response object, and a next object. So that next parameter that we have there,
Okay.
it helps you pass the control to the next next function that matches the URL.
Okay, so it will match the URL.
So if I have say app.use, so
Okay.
app is our main app and I'm defining a route. So if I have app.use and the URL matching is /user,
Okay.
Right.
okay, and /update,
Fine.
okay, and then I have another get.post,
Okay.
/user /update
Slash
something.
Right.
Okay, now I want to use a middleware.
Oh, you
Okay,
want
okay.
to use.
Say I want to use a middleware that says that any route that goes to user
Okay.
It should authenticate that the user is the specific user is the one who is updating it or fetching the data.
Yes, exactly.
Or the
Okay.
user. So we
Fine.
keep the middleware separate from the main get and post request.
Right.
Right. So we'll have a URL in app.use, which will be our middleware, and it will have a regex expression there that will
Right.
match all the routes going to users.
But then, can this regex expression also be a route, predefined JSON routes? Because I think what
Yes.
happened is when we were working on the routes in UI5 application itself, we have to manually define, or maybe you have to define it in a file. Okay, what are all the routes which you are using? If the user is saying one, then go to this
It will
tab.
just do a string matching, so you can just put a regex there.
Okay, yeah.
So if you do a u star,
Exactly.
any route starting with u will get matched.
Okay.
Right, right. And same we are doing in Django also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these
So
are
we are
some of the
defining,
basic concepts.
Yes, it's
yeah.
common for all technology,
Yeah.
I think.
Routing.
For
Okay,
routing.
so once the authentication has been done in app.use,
Okay.
then we pass the control to the next matching route.
Exactly.
He has been authenticated, and yes, you can go ahead and process the request.
Right.
So that's kind of the use of next parameter. So it
Okay.
passes the control from himself to the next one, where the URL is matching.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it's like it's a kind of router, we can say.
Yeah.
So it's routing the
It's taking control of the sequence of event which should happen when we are kind of
Exactly.
using the routing in the
Yes.
Express. Yeah. So I think normally I've not really used SAP in UI5, not as SAP. In SAP UI5, the routes in such deep level,
Yeah.
I've just used which is kind of been provided in the library itself, because I was switching between tabs and I was changing based on the URL change
Yeah.
different tabs. On that I have used route, but basically these are the JavaScript concept to like in the core. And then like and if you're talking about Node.js and I think in mean stack developer
Yes.
itself, they are the hardcore JavaScript developers, which I think you get a lot of information. You have to be a good JavaScript developer to really work as a mean end-to-end developer.
Yes,
And
it's all JavaScript basically. I mean, like even in Mongo we have JSON object.
Exactly.
We
They are-
use
they are-
Bison actually in Mongo, but that's the binary JSON.
yeah, so I think the data in Python you're using is JSON or which?
Yes, actually, dictionary data is there.
JSON.
So we can convert this dictionary in JSON. It's very easy. So JSON is also key value pair and dictionary is also key value
Yeah,
pair.
I think the common
So,
thing
yes.
is JSON, which is kind of acting.
JSON
Key
is the
value
common.
pair is the
Okay, so
Yeah.
JSON
main
parser
thing.
we are using there and we are converting data into JSON.
Yeah, so I think this concludes our mean stack
Mean
questions. You can ask any question related to JavaScript also. It may not be related to mean stack.
Yeah.
We are live here. Coming back to now me, I'm going to
IoT.
answer some of the IoT
IoT
questions.
questions.
We
And
have
it's-
launched Connect IoT end-to-end.
End-to-end.
Yes.
This is the ongoing course which is going to get
Right.
updated every 3 months or 4 months. And we have kind of given you the basics of
Basics.
Arduino and ESP86.
Yes,
Yes.
all hardware's knowledge, and we are going to launch our kit also.
Yeah.
So now the IoT questions is like its future as we are seeing.
Yeah.
So let's
it's
discuss some
present and
questions.
future, both of it, because there has been some of the IoT projects which are already
Yes.
hiring a lot of engineers.
Yes.
Because they have already started, and these people are being hired like on a very
And yes,
like, very
day
high
by day,
price.
like jobs are coming in IoT sector.
Yeah.
So,
So I think when I was migrating my technologies, I've done some lot of migration in my career. Before I think I landed into UF5. At the time, whenever you migrate to anything new, and you are the one who knows even like little bit about it, or maybe working knowledge of it,
Yes.
Right.
then you are sent to on-site and you are given premium packages.
Exactly.
And then you become subject matter expert. But you have to work hard, because the unsolved challenges will be something which you will be working on.
Right.
There will be no one to really ask questions. You will be
True.
stuck on things and you have to really find the answer yourself. So these are some of the questions which or challenges which will come. The IoT is the future, and if you know IoT, then I think your pricing or billing rates on a project and the on-site opportunities
Will
or
be very high.
like
For-
number of opportunities you will get will be
Yes.
much higher.
for
So
upcoming 50 years, we can say.
Not
Or
fif- I
more
don't
than
know.
that.
The
We can-
technology is changing very
very
rapidly.
maybe
Very rapidly.
5 years, yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
IoT is the future, and I think Connect course we have designed
For
and kept-
IoT.
yeah, for the hardware specialists. So,
So-
like when I was working on this in Python and like Java, while connecting to hardwares and integrating.
Right.
So these are the hardware stuff which actually was I was totally blank, and the Connect IoT is designed specifically for that reason.
True.
So you get in hands-on on hardwares as well. Okay, coming back to the questions, why IoT will be successful in the coming year. So this is a very straightforward question. And
I think we were talking about that only.
yeah, exactly. So, but the main point which lies here to answer the question is it's telecom infrastructure, because we have seen some of the product launch in the market which can automatically integrate to the telecom infrastructure. For example, I can have a small hardware which can directly speak to my telecom provider and give the data to it, and then data goes to someplace else. So these are like and then and even the internet connectivity, you can see
Yes.
the penetration has gone so much deeper that you will have access to internet everywhere now and
Yes.
across the globe. There are very few places now in the earth where you don't have internet.
Yeah.
Mountain
Don't name
Maybe
any cellular
Himalayas.
provider.
Mountain tops.
Mountain tops.
Mountain tops, it's there when BSNL in India.
Yeah, so I think you avoid saying any name of telecom provider. Because maybe
because I had experience, that's what I would
Yeah.
say. But it's not like kind of advertisement of any company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of telecom provider has been coming into the picture, and then they have kind of given their products in the market which can integrate with small IoT hardwares
Yes.
to enable the integration end to end. For example, I can we showed ESP8266. It's a
Yes.
very small device and Wi-Fi capable.
Exactly.
And if I can have a small sensor node to provide it internet, you can get sensor data to do anything on field, and you can just put it in anywhere, and then automation can start.
Exactly.
kicking in.
We
So-
can automate anything.
Yeah, so the kind of use cases which it can come is limitless. I think you can
Yeah.
use it in the farmer industry,
Yes.
medical industry,
Medical industry.
education,
Healthcare and transportation,
logistic.
and everywhere you can use
Yeah.
IoT, I think.
Yeah, IoT can use everywhere. So
it's very vast.
So this is the future technologies, and I think our Connect end-to-end bundle is the first thing in itself which prepares you on a very ground level.
True.
It really not really partial to any of the
Yes.
kind of solution out there from big companies. We have kept it how it should be, like
Yes.
totally on the
So-
ground, not really.
Exactly. If you are totally blank with hardware, so you can watch these videos and like you will become expert after some time, after getting this knowledge.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think mostly what my point was that there are other solutions from other vendors also.
Yes.
We don't want to name vendors there. And then everyone is saying that their solution is better. So, in a way,
It's depend on application.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
what we are saying. So, if someone is going in the marketplace and then they want to learn IoT, or they want to work or implement IoT,
Right.
and all the vendors are saying, oh, their solution is better. So, in those scenarios, we have not kept any partiality to any
Exactly.
vendors. We have said, okay, what it is real,
Yes.
as it is, not really picked any one vendors,
Right.
and
No,
demising any other vendors.
we are not
Yeah.
comparing. Means you can do anything.
So
without-
all the big vendors have their own platforms.
Yes.
So I'm not saying name here, but all the big vendors have their own platform, and everyone is saying that
The
their
structure,
platform is
like,
the future.
But the structure of all platforms is same. Okay, if you're using any platform, it's same. So
Yeah, so basically what this says is, in the Connect kit, we have not really done any partiality on any one vendors,
Right.
and we have said that, okay, how the things are on a very ground level. So when you go in the marketplace, then you can take decisions from your own side, from your own practice or maybe experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming back to the next question here, is what impacts will the Internet of Things have on healthcare sector? I think you were saying healthcare. I think someone was saying
That's
healthcare.
very
yes,
important.
Yeah.
healthcare is important actually.
Yeah. So
this is-
in this case of healthcare, I think what people are doing is they have small sensors which can be attached with the body parts, and you can get data of those sensors.
Exactly.
And these sensors will be the one where you can attach it to any maybe
Any device.
you
bands.
can wear it.
Yeah,
Fit,
you can
fit,
wear wearables.
Fitbit
is one example.
It's example, and like lots of sensors which can measure the blood pressure and the temperature of the body,
Heartbeat.
heartbeat. So using that sensor, we can get the data, and we can post it to the maybe on UI.
Maybe to a doctor, maybe to your own doctor.
So
and
yes,
they can give you.
So doctor
some
can
data.
easily able to know, okay, this is my patient, what is the condition
Yeah.
now. So this is like good use for IoT.
Yeah, exactly. So in field also, for example, people who are very far from hospital, I think it's a very common problem in US where people are living in outskirt places and then they might have internet access,
Yes.
but
Right.
if they are in trouble and then doctor they want to come in a hospital, then it's very difficult. So what doctors now are doing is having the monitoring systems enabled,
Yes.
and the predictive system in itself will pick up that okay, the vital signs of a patient will go bad in future, so they need attention and they'll
Exactly.
send the ambulance immediately.
Right, right.
So in healthcare sector, I think it can save lives for sure, and I think IoT, the only problem
many
with
companies are also coming up.
Yeah, many-
with these
Many
solutions.
companies, even existing companies, are also working with this use case, and
Mm.
I think in Australia they have delivered. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's coming, and market is accepting it.
So even I think the most important part is availability of doctor is kind of can be reached because
Yeah.
your body will be having so many like sensors who can which can update doctors when
Yes.
you need your doctor,
Right.
and then the medical facilities can arrive at time and can save lives.
Yes.
It's not like no in futuristic, it's already happening. I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
people are using Fitbits
Yes.
to really take the heartbeat, monitoring heartbeat,
Exactly.
and doctors are already going through it. It's not very difficult also. You can also buy a Fitbit and use APIs and build your application within it.
Yes, you can build your own Fitbit as well.
Yeah, exactly. So these are some of the applications which are already been coming,
Alright.
and people, I think, from a software developer perspective, they are not really getting comfortable with the sensors and integration part of it. So on that particular part, I think the challenge will be to learn it quickly, as quickly as it can be. Because I think when the devices are touching you and then it is giving the data, and after that I think we know how to integrate data with
We have
cloud
to
and all these
handle
things.
it.
Yeah, but the sensors are something that is new, and if I
Exactly.
can go end to end, then it will be like much good. So there's one more question: what is the difference between OData and JSON? I think JSON
It's
is
just a format.
Yeah, just a format. OData is a protocol.
Protocol.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
was
like
initially developed by
protocol.
Microsoft. Yeah.
Yes.
And when I use OData, I can use OData in XML or JSON also. But JSON is just a format
For
of
JavaScript,
data
yes.
representation.
Exactly.
Yeah. JavaScript
Object
notation.
notation. Yeah. And OData are the
It's a
protocol
full-fledged
to
protocol,
expose the
like
services
based on REST API.
Yeah, REST API. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what are the REST API full form? I forgot the full form of REST API. I think we can quickly check it. Just, it's I think REST based API. So
Yeah,
representational
representational
state
state
transfer. Yeah. So there are two type of services. One is stateful and stateless.
Stateless.
Yes.
Yeah, those stateful services will remember what happened now and what happened previously also.
Exactly.
And the stateless doesn't remember what happened previously.
True.
Right.
So the OData are stateless services, I think, and they don't really depend on what happened in n-1 time or t-1 time.
Exactly.
And I think these are the new generation. Previously, we were using SOAP, which were state full services. And then they found that there was some problem on disadvantage when you remember the state, you store those states, and those are not really like required. Yeah, yeah.
I think we have another question from Deep Agarwal.
Yeah, so representational.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is stateless services. OData is a stateless services, and
Yeah.
what we actually found is the OData are much better. Previously, we were using SOAP. If you, I think, were a little longer on this
Yes.
enterprise or like software landscape, then you might have used SOAP also. I have used SOAP with Java Beans and all,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they switched to OData services.
Exactly.
And enterprise they have started using OData. Okay, will the healthcare solution using UI5 will be using OData compliant with HL7? So I think I think this is the next question which I was going to really think we would be having. Do you work on internet? Will it have its own dedicated? Okay, so I think let's answer this question which has come up. Will the healthcare solution using UI5 be used OData compliant with HL7 standards? The problem here is not really the compliant, but like who is complying with it? Because see, when someone is giving a standard, in web the standard is W3,
Yeah.
Right.
And then they say, okay, if we say something,
Right.
it is. So they're the god. So,
Yeah.
so now what is happening? All of a sudden, if someone want to control IoT is a kind of it's not a technology. It's a concept in itself.
Exactly. It's a concept.
Yeah, it's a
So,
concept. Yeah.
exactly.
So if a big company is saying that, okay, I will standardize IoT with my solution, then the other big company is saying, okay, I will standardize IoT with my
So,
solution.
Yes. In
So-
present, it's going on.
Yeah. So on a
There's no
protocol
standard.
level, I think it's still very early to decide what will be the standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we in the course itself we are showing you major protocols which are being used.
Yes.
So if you are actually working on a project, the architect will already pick a vendor and then they will be using their protocols.
Yes.
And then you have to stick to it. So we are actually exposing you to maximum number of popular protocols which you might be using. The question is HL7 standard. So basically standards, we are kind of overwhelmed with number of standards we are getting. HL7 is
Exactly.
one of it. And mainly it is the data protocol, not really when you're talking about OSI layers.
Yes.
And in that, what is the format of the data which is transferred between your devices? For example, I have to actually take the names here. You were previously working in Cisco's. So I think now they have a protocol in Cisco where they have those devices and they speak to each other with their standards.
Yes.
And in Intel, they have their devices speak to each other with their standards.
Exactly.
Now, it totally depends on which vendor has maximum dependency upon your customers. Their solution will be used and their protocol will be used. Like it's a personal statement, not a company statement. So like it should not be obliged to like no. So it depends on what is your vendor, who is your priority vendors for your customer, and it will be basically their solution which will be used and their protocol you have to learn.
Yes.
Right.
So it depends totally. Okay, so I think moving on to the final question for our, I think this is not a mean stack, this is IoT question, I think, yeah. Yeah, so let me change it also. So will IoT actually work over the internet or will it have its own dedicated area network? I think it will be both.
It depends on what kind of use case you are working on, right?
See, for present, it's not like that. We are using whatever we are having now, let's say Bluetooth or like Wi-Fi. Or Zigbee. So there are three technologies.
Yeah.
So, but in future we can say maybe some like a network can be developed and they can use. But for present, I think it's not like that. It's like commonly we are using and we are using the same technology.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I think this is like, for example, if I'm having a sensor node
Right.
within like maybe in a remote location,
Exactly.
it will be, and then it can happen that, okay, this sensor located node will have one more node like within 100
Yes.
meter radius.
Yes.
So as a solution architect, should I have a dedicated LAN network for these people, or I should directly hook up with
No,
internet?
you can create the LAN network there.
Okay.
Depends on the security.
So,
It depends on number of factors, not only on
Yeah.
security. Security is
Like
one of the factors.
N number of
That's
factors.
what I said too.
So, but you can develop. It's up to you how you're using.
Yeah,
it.
I think this is the exactly this question which I'm answering in the
Right.
upcoming course of Art and Science of IoT.
Exactly.
I think I'm still in the process of making that course, and I think these are some of the questions which I'm putting it. I'm
Right.
showing some of the popular 5 use cases I'm showing, and showing on an architectural level why we selected this architecture or why this protocol has been selected.
Right.
I will try to be as much vendor non-specific.
Non-specific.
Because then that will be a partiality to that vendor,
Yeah.
unless the vendor is paying us very big money in order to take their side. So some of the vendors, big vendors, they pay a lot of money to really promote their protocols and all. We'll try to be as much non-partial as possible, so you get a clear picture of what is reality, and then you can take your own decision. Because in future generation projects, you will once you go through the course, you might be, when it is actually within 1 or 2 years, you might be a solution architect in an IoT
Right.
project, because you are the first movers on these fields.
True.
So you should have a very good knowledge, non-partial knowledge,
Yep.
and then I think it's our responsibility now to really tell you what exactly things are, not really because someone is giving us money, we are kind of
Right.
taking its side.
Exactly.
So, and these are personal
Uh,
opinions, not the company should not be hold obliged to this opinion. Okay, so this is the final question, and buy our courses with webinar at coupon.
Yes.
80% off.
80% off.
By this
Okay, I
coupon
thought
you
this is
can-
70% off. Okay, okay.
So,
Therefore,
yeah.
80 is returned, right? Okay. Okay, so I hope
we have bundles too, not just courses. So you can go ahead and check our bundles, and they have been structured very nicely. They have been sequenced so that you can learn in a step-by-step manner, and they have been created by experts in their own areas.
Right.
So do check them out. They have been liked by a lot of people. You can go ahead and check the reviews too. So
yeah, I
Yes.
think one thing which I also like to add is the bundle is not static.
Yes.
So if you see 5 courses, they are not like 5 courses.
We keep on adding new courses.
As soon as
then.
like new things comes into the picture,
Right. We have
add
keep
it,
on,
yeah.
keep on adding.
Yeah, yeah. So and any more questions you have, you can just mail it to admin@ufscn.com or connect@ufs5cn.com. This is not connect, but like connect is
connect.
like correcting,
Yeah.
not the connect IoT end to end. So we have to separate thing.
Right.
Use admin@ufscn.com because then
Yeah.
we can easily be reached and okay, there's final thing is question
What
which
are the
came is
differences?
what are the difference between bundles and courses? I think bundles are like our
Collection of courses.
Collection.
Yeah.
These
That
are
is the main thing. Like step by step, you
Techie
can be
answer.
expert.
Yeah, so I think the fundamental difference is like when we design a bundle, we keep in mind of okay, who should take it. For example, we said okay, one guy, if you want to earn good money, should
Right.
be an end-to-end developer. Basically, the contractors in in Germany and Europe, they earn a lot of money because they are end-to-end developers. And if you want to become an end-to-end developers, we don't really suggest to become only front-end developers. We actually will push you to become the best version of you.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you can do something, then you should do it, and it's our responsibility to make it.
Make it.
So I think we have designed bundles, so you learn the entire thing properly. And when you are in the marketplace, it's a very competitive marketplace.
Yes.
So
Right.
the people who have end-to-end knowledge are picked first, and then the priority is given to other people.
Right.
And the bundles represent a
Complete end to end.
knowledge of any topic.
Any topic.
And bundles are not really you have 5 courses and there will be only 5 courses. Over time, you will see that we will be adding more courses.
Exactly.
And
If they're-
improving the previous courses
Yeah.
too, like with time as they get updated.
Yeah, even like Nuno was saying that we should add Fury course to the UFI
Yes.
bundle also. And I think we have taken it seriously and we will be adding Fury content also in a UI5. So in a way also we are thinking about licensing and all now,
Yes.
how to take care of it, like partnering and all. So I think, yeah, that concludes the webinar. Thank you, Rahul.
So,
Raghu saying
yeah.
thank you. So I
Thank
think
you
we
all
have...
for joining us.
Thank you
Yeah,
for joining us.
thank you for joining us. Use coupon webinar IT and tell your friends. If you give to your friends, then we will be very happy. Sell some bundles for us. So UF5CN, learn simple.
Learn simple.
Learn simple.
simple.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.